This is the coolest driver I have ever seen. 4 robbers had just robbed a bank and got into his car, ready to run away. But he refused to drive. The robber pointed a gun at his head. But he remained calm and said that the plan was for 3 people, but now there were 4. Having one more person adds extra weight, which increases the risk of getting caught. The robber, getting impatient, wants to take him out and drive himself. But the man says the car needs a password to start, and only he knows it. So it's best to stick to the plan, or they'll just have to wait to get caught. Just as the police are about to arrive, the lead robber, in fit of rage, killed one of the guys in the back and pushes the body out of the car. Then the man quickly inputs the password, starts the car, and begins to make a wild escape. The police soon caught up with him. He made a sharp turn, drove the car up the step, then drove into a one-way street, successfully shaking off the police. Soon he parked the car in a safe place. The robber immediately rolled down the window and started throwing up. But soon the police were chasing them again, and ahead was a big truck blocking the way. Those who like and follow will become rich in the future. But just like that, they were forced to stop by the police on the bridge. At that moment, the man saw a transport truck passing below the bridge. He slammed on the gas, waited for the right moment, and let go of the brake, sending the car flying off the bridge on the transport truck. And the police were chasing him again. He leaned out of the car window and fired a shot at a switch, causing a car to fall directly down. The police car behind couldn't dodge the turn and crashed right into him, giving him the chance to back off the transport truck. He executed a stylish drift. He drove past just a second before the train, using the train to block the pursuing police, successfully delivering the robbers to the designated location. The man's name is Jason, known as the strongest Mediterranean on Earth. He's a retired Special Forces soldier. After retiring, he took on underground courier work, and he always adheres to 3 principles in his job. First, the terms of the agreement cannot be changed. Second, never reveal your real name. Third, never open the package. Soon he received a new order, and Jason arrived at the designated pickup location. 2 men stuffed a large package into his trunk, and then they drove off to the destination. But along the way, a tire blew out, so he had to get out and change the tire. When he was about to grab the spare tire from the trunk, he noticed the package moving. Jason immediately guessed that it contained a person, but being someone who sticks to his principles, he didn't open the package. Instead, he changed the tire and continued on his way. Along the route, Jason stopped at a convenience store to buy some water. As he was leaving, he felt a pang of sympathy for the person in the trunk and bought an extra bottle. He then drove to a secluded spot, conflicted about whether to open the bag, and finally did. Inside was a beautiful woman. He took out a small knife and made a cut in the tape over Xiaomei's mouth, giving her a bit of water before putting her back in the trunk. They set off again. At this point, Xiaomei started acting up, shouting and screaming in the trunk. Jason was worried about drawing attention. If they ran into the police again, it would be even more trouble. So, he opened the trunk to check on her. Xiaomei then said she needed to use the bathroom, and after hesitating for a moment, Jason agreed. To prevent her from escaping, he tied one end of a rope around her neck and held the other end in his hand, warning her that she only had 1 minute. But as time passed, she still hadn't come back. Jason quickly went over to check and found that Xiaomei had already run away. Fortunately, Xiaomei was just a fragile girl. Beautiful girl, didn't run far. Jason quickly caught up with her. She didn't hold back and kicked him over, then just picked her up and took her back to the car. They headed straight to the delivery location, where he handed Xiaomei over to his employer, Sang Biao. Sang Biao was very pleased with Jason's efficiency, so he had his men bring over a big box and handed it to him. Jason happily accepted the box and left. On the way back, Jason stopped at a convenience store to grab a bite. After finishing the meal, we were ready to continue on our journey. Jason's beloved car had blown to pieces. Main box was lit. He himself was also blown away more than 10 meters by the explosion. Fortunately, it was not serious, but a lot of hair was lost. Jason immediately realized that it must be Sang Biao who wanted to kill him to silence him. How could he justify the loss of hair if he didn't take revenge? At this time, Sang Biao's younger brother was still playing landlord in the villa. Suddenly, he heard a knock on the door and was about to go over to check. Jason took a running start and flew up for a long time, then fell to the ground at the door. The remaining 3 brothers immediately drew their guns and shot, but Jason used the door to stop the bullet. Taking the opportunity, he yanked off a tablecloth. After dealing with all the little brothers, I went to the garage. Jason drove off stylishly in Sang Biao's luxury car. Unexpectedly, just a little while after he left, Xiaomei popped up from the back seat. Seeing her again made Jason a bit frustrated, so he slammed on the gas, stopped the car, and yanked Xiaomei out, tossing her onto the road, before speeding away. But when he looked in the rearview mirror and saw Xiaomei looking helpless, he felt soft-hearted again. He hit the brakes hard, stopped the car, and went back to shove her into the trunk. He brought her home, and sure enough, even heroes have a hard time resisting beautiful women. If it were me, I'd definitely take her home too. How about you, sitting in front of the screen? The 2 of them started living a happy life at home. But trouble soon knocked on their door, when a shell hit the roof directly. Jason quickly pulled Xiaomei down to hide under the table. Right after that, another shell came flying in. Xiaomei exploded. Xiaomei entered the base. After arriving at the basement, the 2 jumped into the pool together. Jason took out the oxygen cylinder he had prepared in advance and went to Jason's safe house by water. Xiaomei had no way to repay Jason for saving her life, so she decided to repay him with her body. The following scene was not very pretty. Let's skip this part. After everything, Xiaomei told Jason that Sang Biao was a human trafficker and that her father and sister had been captured by him. Upon hearing this, Jason immediately decided to rescue her family. The next day, they went to Sang Biao's office, and while he was caught off guard, they snatched his gun and pressed it against his neck. Just as Jason was looking for information, Sang Biao calmly mentioned that Xiaomei's father was on his way. Jason was a bit confused, and then realized that Xiaomei had been lying. At that moment, Xiaomei's father walked in, revealing that he was the real mastermind behind everything. And Xiaomei didn't want to see her father getting deeper into trouble, so they want to use Jason to stop him. But just then, another scarred man rushes in and starts beating up Jason, giving the villain a chance to knock Jason out. At that moment, the police arrive, but the villain accuses Jason of breaking into a private residence. So the sheriff has no choice but to take Jason back to the station. When Jason wakes up, he tells the sheriff what happened. And the sheriff, believing in Jason's character, gives him 12 hours to solve the case himself. Then Jason arrived at the dock and saw that the container with the hostages was about to be shipped away. He took a running leap and jumped onto the container. At that moment, the driver noticed him and tried to knock him off using a billboard, so Jason quickly jumped onto the bus below. When the bus came to a stop, a few of the henchmen surrounded him, and seeing this, Jason had no choice but to start fighting. Okay, just finished dealing with that. Here they come again, a group of henchmen, cornering him in the car. After all the problems were solved, Jason drove a nearly scrapped car to chase the truck. After chasing for a whole night, he finally saw the truck, but the car was too broken. After Jason's whole night of ravage, it completely broke down. At this time, an agricultural plane flew past him, and Jason instantly had an idea. He threatened the driver to take him to chase it. Sure enough, flying is fast, he quickly caught up to the truck. Jason leaped out of the plane, opened his parachute, and landed steadily on top of the truck. Then he broke the window and jumped inside. With one kick, Jason kicked the driver aside and took control of the truck. Seeing this, the villain picked up a shotgun and started firing at Jason, but his aim was so terrible that he didn't hit a single hit. Then he jumped onto the truck, and the two of them started fighting in the driver's cabin. After that, Jason parked the truck in a safe place and was just about to breathe a sigh of relief when Xiaomei's father pressed a gun to his head. He forced Jason to the edge of a cliff. Jason surprisingly comes out unscathed, but Xiaomei's father collapses. It turns out that Xiaomei shot him from behind. She just couldn't stand her father's endless wrongdoing, so she chose to betray him for the greater good. In the end, Jason successfully rescues all the kidnapped hostages, and from then on, he and Xiaomei live a blissfully happy life together.